Hey everyone, so I'm back again with another recent reads video, and we're actually getting into the books that I remember more. I've been going through the books that I've read since I think 3 years ago until now, just because I dropped the YouTube ball and stopped making videos for a while. I got sick, and then I just got lazy. So I guess we might as well jump right into them. The first book that I have to share is probably one of the best books I've ever read, and easily the most heartbreaking book that I've ever read. And it is Tin Man by Sarah Winman. It tells the story of Michael and Ellis and kind of their romance that they had growing up, and then Ellis went on to meet a girl whose name I don't remember, Annie, and they both went on to have this relationship, and Michael never really moved on from his relationship with Ellis, and couldn't really get over it. And then in the end, there's kind of this tragic accident that leaves one of them very much alone and heartbroken, and kind of just figuring out life and who he is and who his identity is after all of this has happened. This book was like phenomenal, and it hit me in so many emotional and different ways. It was very hard for me to get through at the time that I was reading it, because I just gone through a breakup with my first boyfriend that I was out with, I guess. But I've just never read anything that's left me so emotionally distraught as this. And to me, that's a good thing. I want to read a book that leaves me feeling wounded, feeling something. A lot of books that I've read, they're great in the moment, and then they're done, and then I'm able to move on. But this is one book that I think I read this, and then it took me a couple months before I could jump into another book, because I was thinking about this book night and day, and it was just resonating with me so much. I would go back, I have so many pages kind of notched off and quotes that I've underlined, because this book is just beautiful, and it's one that I definitely recommend everyone should read this book. It's fantastic. So the next books that I'm going to talk about, they're actually in a series. It's the Liveship Traders Trilogy by Hobb. These series are also set within the Elderlings series that she has going on, which started off with Assassin's Apprentice and the Farseer trilogy, which I reviewed in a video, I think 2 videos ago. So this is the second trilogy in the series. Has nothing to do with the first trilogy, and it's set in a completely different place with different characters. It's made up of Ship of Magic, that's the first one. Mad Ship is the second one, and the third is Ship of Destiny. And it's a kind of like a pirate themed trilogy, and I didn't enjoy it. I love Hobb. I think Hobb is one of the greatest fantasy writers that's out there, and that's very true for these books as well. Her writing and her writing style, the world that she's created is so real and fleshed out. Even her characters are very they're real and they're tangible, and there's so much emotion packed into her writing style. But I didn't like these books, number one, because they took me away from Fitz and the Fool, who are my favorite fantasy characters, that were the main characters in the Farseer trilogy. But that aside, I couldn't really get into the characters. None of these characters really interested me that much. I read the first book pretty quickly and then jumped into the second one, and I just kind of it took me forever to get through these 3 books, just because I wasn't interested in these characters or the storyline, and I just didn't really care how it ended. So it took me quite a long time to get through this this trilogy, but I did want to get through it because I would like to read the Elderlings series in total. I've never read it before, so I'd like to read it in order and complete. So I had to make my way through these books. And I mean, they weren't bad, but they weren't the Farseer trilogy. That's all I gotta say. So the next book that I read was actually a short story, or not a short story, I don't know, like a short fiction called We Are the Animals, by Justin Torres. And just like Tin Man, this book was also very emotionally heavy and left me hurting a little bit. It left me just very emotional. So it tells the story of these three brothers growing up in kind of like a poor American household. One of them is gay. I think it's the youngest. I can't remember. But he doesn't come out to the end, and it's devastating, and it kind of rips him apart from this family that he grew up in with kind of these rough and tumble brothers. But it's brilliant. It's full of little short stories that just kind of they talk about brotherly love, and it just works its way through family dynamics and emotions and everything that's involved with that. It's a very quick read. It was very short and was very good. I definitely recommend reading this one. After that, I ended up reading another really good book, which was Madeline Miller's The Song of Achilles. This book is a historical fiction that kind of tells the story of Achilles through Patroclus. That tells the story of Achilles through Patroclus. I can't say his name. Patroclus. I can never say Patroclus's name. It's through the eyes of Patroclus, who, if you don't know, Patroclus was Achilles' kind of like shield bearer, I think. There's a lot of hints that they were in a romantic relationship as well. But this kind of highlights the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus, and it's very good. It's very well written, and the relationship between the two is beautiful. It's almost like a very close friendship that's also romantic, which I guess is what you want, right? Don't you want that in a relationship? It's fantastic. Just read it. just read it. I don't know. I don't have much to say on it. It was beautiful. It was provocative. It was incredibly touching. Just the connection between these two characters was really great, and it was really great to read. This next series that I have to talk about, I'm technically not done it yet. I only have a few chapters left before I finish it, so I figured I'd include it all anyway. But it is... I went back to Robin Hobb, to the Elderling series again. And so the next trilogy in my order that I had to read was the Tawny Man trilogy, which takes us back, thankfully, to the characters of Fitz and the Fool. So this trilogy is made up of Fool's Errand, the Golden Fool, and Fool's Fate, which is the one that I'm almost done. I've got a couple more chapters left. And once more, I gotta say, Robin Hobb is an incredible author with such an incredible just style and form when it comes to your writing. There's such depth in these books. There's such emotion. And her fantasy world is so well fleshed out and interesting and intricate, but at the same time leaves room for questions and mystery. It's really good. That being said, I haven't enjoyed this trilogy as much as I did the first one. I don't know why, but I think it has to do with the fact that the whole kind of relationship between the Fool and Fitz was talked about in one of the books. So in this series, I don't like to say it, but there's very obvious queer baiting. The way that Hobb writes Fitz and his feelings towards the Fool are very romantic. But in the first trilogy, it kind of left you like kind of questioning whether or not they were romantic. It was obvious from the Fool's perspective that he did have romantic feelings towards Fitz, but you never really got a concrete answer on how Fitz felt about him. I mean, Fitz had this girl in the first book that he, like, you know, his love interest, who I could not stand, this Molly girl who was such a getting in the way of Fitz and the Fool. But in this series, it's much more blatant, and then it comes up in the Golden Fool, the second book. There's this question, I guess both Fitz and the Fool get into a big fight about the Fool's feelings that are very romantic towards Fitz, his friend. And Fitz says that how could I ever, you know, love you like that or anything like that, and the Fool kind of says, I've never asked that from you, I'm just your friend, and I would never ask that from you because I know you can't give it to me. And honestly, at that point, I put the book down and didn't want to read it. Didn't read it for a couple weeks, because I was very angry when I was reading it. I was reading it at the same time that The Rise of Skywalker came out, and they kind of glazed over the whole Finn and Poe relationship that people had going on, and made Poe heterosexual or a straight character, and I was hurt and offended by that. And something else happened at the same time that was the same sort of thing. It was queer baiting, and then it just went the other way. And that's how I felt about these books, because even as I finally started reading again, got into the last book that I'm on now, and the way that Hobb writes Fitz and his feelings towards the Fool, they're not platonic at all. There's no way a straight male friend is going to be talking about his friend in the way that Fitz talks about the Fool, and it irks me almost. I still love Hobb. I still think she's one of the greatest fantasy writers. She's got such incredible talent, but it's upsetting. It's upsetting to read. It's upsetting to read because there's, like, you see queer baiting so often, and it never pans out, like, for LGBT inclusion. It's basically just kind of hinting that, you know, oh, the LGBT community can see themselves in these characters, in this story, but really this isn't a book about their representation. And it sucks. It honestly sucks. And as I'm nearing the end of Fool's Fate, the last book in this trilogy, it just is constantly hammered home, this kind of, like, queer baiting that I've had to read in this whole trilogy. I do still recommend Robin Hobb. Like, if you're looking for a new, well, she's not new, she's been around for a long time, but if you're looking for a new fantasy series to dig into, I definitely suggest looking through Hobb's books and starting with the Farseer trilogy, because some of the best fantasy out there. I just wish that it wasn't so, you know, queer baity. But I mean, that's kind of the state of things. And she does have LGBT characters in other books and stuff. It's just this one, I don't know. It just hits harder than some other things. So still recommend it. Still love the books. They're great. I love Fitz. I love the Fool. I just wish they would love each other. And yeah, that's it. That's my last recent reads video. We're all caught up to where I am now. It really doesn't seem like I've read that much in the last 3 years. But to be honest, these Robin Hobb books are pretty thick, and I read like a chapter a day when I'm on the treadmill, so I don't really read that much. You know, I'm also writing and doing other stuff, and so I read as much as I can, but I should probably read more. And yeah, so that's it for this video. Stay tuned. Again, I am putting out some more plant stuff, plant related things. I know this channel is just kind of like a mix match of things that I'm interested in, but it's my channel, so I can do what I want. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again for watching. If you're new to my channel, I post plant videos on Monday, and on Friday I post videos about writing or reading or photography or whatever interests that I have. As always, you can find my social media links in the description below. As well, you can find the link to my fantasy series, A Chronicle of Crowns, which is currently out on Amazon. Thanks again. Bye!